Hello, this is Jay Ping checking in live, respectmyregion.com. What's good? What's good? We're here today on another episode of the Michigan Cannabis Podcast brought to you guys by Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, aka InfiniteCAL. They are your trusted resource for all things potency testing, terps, THC, heavy metals, all of pesticides, all of those things that we care greatly about. I trust them because people I trust them. They've helped me learn the science, and so we appreciate them sponsoring this episode as well as others to provide a platform for guests such as the one we have today, who Kyle, my co-host, will introduce.
Well, everybody, it is amazing to be here on the Michigan Cannabis Podcast. Thank you for that intro to myself, but I'm really excited to have Jen from Lyra Cannabis on here. She was one of my first connections that I got to meet early in my journey when I started networking so much. And it was that same golf event. You guys had the booth set up there, and that's when I got to meet you guys, Kyle too, and the whole crew. So Jen, welcome to the Michigan Cannabis Podcast. It's an honor to have you on today.
Woo, 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 woo,
Thank
woo,
you for
woo.
having me.
Yes, Jen, thank you for being a guest. Jen, you're the director of cultivation there at Lyra, and it says luxury cannabis. And so, as the director of as the director of cultivation for a luxury indoor cultivated cannabis company, please let us know a little bit about Lyra and what you guys do that would help us understand what makes it a luxury cannabis brand, please.
Yeah, so we are a living soil organic cannabis farm. We're in Midwest Michigan, and we've had plants in the ground for 2.5 years now. We are focused on trying to bring craft growing styles to a mass market grow. So we are a Class C grow. We have 2,000 plants currently at any given time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we run 4 flower rooms, cycling harvests every 18 days or so. So we are always moving.
That's impressive. I mean, 2,000. You said 2,000 plants or 2,000 pounds?
2,000 plants.
What does that equate to in poundage for somebody that doesn't grow and cultivate?
Or can't do quick math.
So
everyone's different, right? Doesn't everybody get different yields and strains and all that kind of stuff? Isn't it all kind of different anyways?
Definitely. Every system is so different. A lot of people like to judge it by lights. How many pounds do you get per light?
Right.
Here at Lyra, we get about 2.7 pounds per light.
Woo! Okay. We're gonna unpack that today, Jen. We're gonna dive into some of those things because I know when it comes to cultivating, it's an ecosystem. It's a delicate balance, which is a phrase I'm going to use more and more, between nutrients and plant nutrition, the right environments. Kyle has been in a number of facilities throughout there in Michigan. I've been to a number of them across the country. There's these different regions and climates, and there's a lot that goes into it. And your guys' being living soil, there's even more that goes into the soil beyond just the state of the room and what you're feeding the plants. It's a whole even more. It's an additional layer, if you would. Why living soil, Jen? What was like the decision to go that route? Why did you guys go that route instead of some of these other classic indoor cultivation methods?
Well, it goes back to the first question you asked about luxury. We believe that plants that live in luxury are going to give the best flower, and living soil is the best that you can do for plants. It is also the most expensive growing technique, but in my opinion, nothing touches it. You don't get the complex cannabinoid profiles, the terpene percentages that you get with living soil any other way.
Yeah, I visited a living soil cultivation there in Oregon. I've tried some of that flower from a really, really popular one here in Long Beach, California. I'm not here. I live in LA versus Long Beach. And such a difference, whether it's the water, whether it's just maybe the regional bugs or bees or however it can be for these things. I feel like there's a really, truly a unique recipe and something that's different, and it varies from group to group. Kyle, you've smoked their product. You've smoked some of Lyra's before.
Absolutely. You should have seen me golfing at that event after
Talk to me about what was that. What was that experience like? And not to say Jen's not here, but what is that like smoking their product? What in your opinion, what is it like smoking something like what we did the other day with the Pablo, right? Compared to, which is a high end indoor flower, and it was good flower. But what is it like smoking something living soil comparatively to other indoor in your eyes? Someone who's tried a lot of products from different people, different regions.
And I do prefer living soil as well too. Even before we started putting our home garden in. I mean, I spent 2 years working the soil with Jadam and some Korean natural farming methods to really boost that. So when I seen it was luxury cannabis, I started asking questions, and they mentioned it was living soil. So I was in, and I still remember that first time as well too. It was very clean. It was very smooth. And like I said, I went and played my ass off. And we won the golf tournament after that. So I was like, I was sold. And then to try some other products and just have that validation, I knew, and they're so close to me too. They're just like 15 minutes away. It was
I feel like you're kind of located to a lot of people there, Kyle. Is that how it is there where you live in Michigan? You're just around all the farms. Where is this Lowell, Michigan? Do I need to get on Google Earth here and pull up where it is on a map, or what's the deal? Like, geographically, I know the state's kind of like a hand or a mitten is what they call it. Where are you at? You guys have to do this often for tourists, so I apologize. Where are you at in the grand scheme of the state here, Jen? Like, I'm lost. Like.
So as a native Californian, the hand map is new to me.
Okay.
But we are right here. This is like Grand Rapids.
Oh, where that little line is in your hand. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, I'm using the lines as if they were like
96.
Those are the interstates.
That's 96.
Those are the interstates.
Swear to God. Yeah, so right outside, just east of the Grand Rapids metro area, which is where I grew up. It's a smaller town. It's a really great city and great town, located on one of the rivers. And when you guys ended up landing in Lowell, there's freshwater access all over. You got the Grand River and the Flat, I believe. That's right there. Looking into the water structure and how much care you guys have, you're still hand watering, or is there more automation that kind of got brought in that from the last time that I got to come out there and visit, which I believe was in August?
Yeah, so we hand water everything. We've dabbled in a drip system. We really wanted to make it work. There were a lot of reasons why a drip system just did not work with organic growing practices, as well as our soil. The main one being just the thickness of our feeds and our teas. They're too thick to really go through a drip system properly. And then in our soil beds, we have rows that are split into 3 beds, and each bed holds between 9 and 12 plants. And we keep each bed for sure the same genetic, because we have found that there are differences in the way certain genetics feed, and we like to really tailor our care to each plant's individual needs. And with a drip system, there was no way to do that. We had valves, and then it ended up just being so much work to consistently be turning valves and trying to do it that way. It's like, why aren't we just watering these plants by hand? And it doubles as a crop walk, twice a week. That room's getting a crop walk, and it's getting watered by hand. Sometimes we notice, wow, that soil around that one plant, that soil is hella dry. We are going to dump an extra 10 gallons on that plant. So, that's another way our plants just receive the best care that they possibly can.
It's that extra attention, and like our homie Austin said, loyal to the soil. You've got to be committed to that intentionality, to that extra attention, right? It's about really understanding that each of these cultivars has unique requirements, and that even if we do group them up, people like to group them by plant or by table or by tray or by room or whatever it is, they're ultimately still individualized plants. and they're all going to go through their own, their own life cycle, if you would. And walking them, as you were just alluding to, is a really important step that some people sometimes at corners get cut, or maybe they rely a little bit too much on data instead of the human eye. I've heard people complain about that, and I've heard sometimes where people would rather rely on the data and not even worry about the human eye because they feel like, well, bad habits can bleed into the data, right? Or misjudging or mislabeling something that you think was something versus something else, right? Can really set you back because time every day is money in this cultivation line. With you guys, a part of what really goes into this high quality luxury experience has got to be the genetics that you choose. I'm an OG guy. I saw you guys had an OG on there, the Velvet OG. Not one of the ones that I'm super familiar with. So could you help me get familiar with that one first, because I am an OG smoker? And then talk to me about some of the other ones that you guys list on your site or that you guys are currently running if the site isn't up to date.
Yeah, so the Velvet OG is one of my favorites. I'm actually going to be entering it into a competition this weekend.
Ooh, let's go.
Let's go. Oh, Muskegon.
Yep, Muskegon. Shoreline Smokeout. Come on down, learn about living soil. Country Roots is putting it on. It's going to be a great event.
Let's go. I hope you win, man. OG needs some extra love. It's a world of candies now, but we need that OG system.
Yeah, this Velvet OG, it's Velvet Kush crossed with OG Kush. And it's got this like really skunky yet sweet flavor to it. And the high is just absolutely ideal for like everything I do. There's some things that I maybe wouldn't smoke before coming on a podcast, but Velvet OG is not one of them.
I love that. What about some of these other ones? I did see some. Let me go ahead and get back on here on my computer. I was looking at it on my phone.
Oh, of course.
We had the gelato mint. We had the orange cookie cam. We had the root beer. Yeah. This is the lineup, right?
Yeah. So we really want to provide a consistent base of 8 or 9 genetics that can be relied on to be consistent every time for our customers. The gelato mints is one of those. It's just such a steady genetic. It is animal mints crossed with gelato 41, and that's got like more of a floral flavor, little sour, very mellow. Not like I know sometimes the flavors can be intense for some people, but gelato mints is very mellow. It's nice but mellow. Root beer is personally my favorite.
Okay.
It's sativa through and through. She loves like an extra 10 days. And I've straight up harvested a whole room except for root beer and just let her go because that's just what she wants. But she's a headband crossed with a Hindu Kush.
So there's definitely a head changing element to it. But that headband is such an energetic, terpinolene dominant cultivar. That's going to be not racy, not necessarily the right word, but definitely intoxicating, energetically intoxicating. Those two words together.
A little buzzy.
Yeah. And
for sure.
Velvet OG.
She came from California, so
that's incredible. What's going on with the orange cookie chem? What's going on with orange cookie chem?
So that OCC is absolutely orange cookie chem is delightful. It's a chem dog strain lineage, and it's really funny because I have found that when I grow certain genetics in certain rooms, they do different things because regardless of how tight our SOP is, regardless of how much I try to mirror our environmentals room to room, things are just different. They always are going to be. Sorry, I have to plug my computer in because it was about to die.
There we go.
And OCC is one of those amazing genetics that loves to transform from room to room. So some rooms I'll get this really citrusy, strong on the orange. And then sometimes it really pulls that chem. And lately it's really been pulling the chem in the rooms that I've had it in. And we've been liking it. So it's going to hang out in those rooms for quite a while.
That's super. It's crazy to think about it.
Cool.
How different genetics can really perform differently in different rooms, maybe around different other genetics potentially. Are these strains getting their own room, or are they around different things, or what is that situation like for you guys?
Yes. So right now I have 4 rooms going, and my even rooms are mutually exclusive as well as my odds. So I take clones from my even rooms for the next even room and so on. And I have split it up currently between my indicas and my sativa leaning genetics because they like slightly different things. I keep my light intensities a little different for them. I like to do more light deprivation for my sativas than I do for my indicas. And so it's just really nice to have those separated. They also grow more similarly. So my indicas just, they are more stout, tend to bush out. And so I'll put them, slightly more per row, whereas my sativas just get really stretchy and tall, and I tend to spread those out a little bit more.
Is that something you do consistently, or is that something you're bringing in around now? Is that just to get more yield, or what is kind of the thought process within that?
Yes, so that's something that I've been doing over the last 3 to 6 months, and I have seen our yields increase by about 25 to 30 pounds per room. And and I think a big part of that is that, I don't have plants. I don't have one row shading out another row, and I really can just lock in those environmentals to what the plants in that room need instead of just kind of throwing a wider net.
I already have my next question planned out because there's so many things I love to learn and ask about this, but I know Kyle's got at least 1 or 2 ready for you.
Yeah, well, you touched on the automation side of it. I mean, I'm a huge automation person, but as you start to scale, and I guess this will be a 2-part. Like, do you have more plans for expansion on to grow similar setups and rooms out? And as you start to scale up that operation, the hand watering, like you guys have that true passion and that attention to that detail. Are those challenges that you guys are facing now as you're starting to maybe switch around these processes and learn and test? Because I would love, after walking the building, I mean, I know that there's room for it, so I'm really excited to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a 3-phase plan. Right now we're in our phase 1, which is our 4 flower rooms and our 1 veg space. Our veg space can accommodate our phase 2, which is 2 more flower rooms. When we do that, the plan would be to grow those flower rooms specifically for fresh frozen, because we do collaborate with some amazing companies like Lake Life Labs and their ice cream hash brand. And we would love to be able to dedicate 2 rooms entirely to fresh frozen, because it would change the way I grow the plants from day one.
Yeah, growing for those the resin production versus growing for like a cured flower experience.
Right, exactly. Yep. And we currently do hand water everything when we get our, second phase of flower rooms. We would still continue with that. One thing I have noticed, we have the same base crew since the beginning, and everybody has just really settled in. Now everybody's in their second or even third year here, and we have just become this really efficient system, and our cultivation crew and post-harvest crew are majorly to thank for that, because they're so dedicated to their spaces, and they put in so much love and attention into those spaces. And adding 2 more rooms would definitely mean expanding the Lyra family a little bit, and that's exciting too.
Do you guys have? I saw you had obviously the flower SKUs, and that's going to go in jars or bags. Can walk me through your guys' product lineup, and do you guys have anything new coming down the pipeline the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we have been collaborating with the Best Doink Rollers. They're a family business, and they come and hand roll cannon style doinks for us. And that has been an awesome SKU to add to our system. We've also won multiple awards with their hand rolls. So that's been a great relationship. And we are also doing pre-rolls in-house. We didn't, as a team, feel that doing trim-based, machine-packed pre-rolls really fit in with our brand. And so we chose to go with whole flower, hand-filled pre-rolls. And so our post-harvest team does that. And all of our pre-rolls are made from our popcorn flower, which is the small buds at the end of our batches. And that's been wonderful. We've gotten great reception from that. We basically just make them to order right now. So I don't want a bunch of pre-rolls sitting around for 3 months in my RA room. I'd rather just make them when the people want them, and that's been great. We also collaborated with Trip Scientific and put out a vape cartridge. It's our very first one. And
let's go. All right.
We did it with our Free Mac, which is a genetic that we don't have anymore, but we really loved.
So did you recreate it with terpenes, or is that still, I mean, how are you keeping that around then? The vape.
Pardon?
How are you keeping the vape around if the strain isn't around?
We just recently parted ways with that genetic. Just didn't fit into our growing system. But with the last batch, we created this vape cartridge line with Trip Scientific. And so that's a new SKU that we've recently gotten in that we were really excited about.
I see.
It's an exclusive run. You can't even get it anymore. So let's just go promote that. Yep. Thank you.
You can't get it anymore.
That's what I'm talking about. Where can we get it? Where can we find it?
The Free Mac. We love that. That's dope. The exclusive. Make sure
you heard it here first.
Yeah, it's a free world.
Yeah, love that free world, man. Tap in. Is that available at stores currently?
So I believe it is at Easton Craft in Ionia. That for sure I know.
Ionia. Love. Okay.
We're going to Ionia. Now
I guess we're going to Ionia, Kyle.
That
free world, dude. Let's go. I love that. Well, this is a good time to shout out our sponsor.
Easton Craft is a fabulous place.
Make sure you guys go pull up to Easton Craft in Ionia and ask for the Free World. It is the vape from Lyra. And what was the name of the extraction partner, the collab partner with that for y'all?
Free Mac with Trip Scientific.
Trip Scientific, yes. Trip Scientific. Super.
I know exactly where this place is. I pulled them up on Google Maps, and they're just right on the outside of town, right before you go to the prison. So I know right where that place is.
Come on, man. Don't go to jail. Go to Eastcraft. Let's go.
That's right.
Come on, man. Okay, Jen. So we've dove in a little bit to the products most recently. You got a new item. It's exciting. We've talked through some of the product lineup, some of those genetics you're running. We've talked a little bit about the living soil. Let's talk a little bit about you for a second. What is your background? You said you were a Cali girl through and through. You know, how did you become the director of cultivation for this brand? What was this process like where you became such a great grower?
So I started working with cannabis in California back in 2009, 2010. working with a really good friend of mine. His mother had passed away, and he got into the caregiver market. And I worked with him for a while, traveling, up to Humboldt area and coming back and just helping get people in Oakland the medicine that they needed. And that was a great experience. Really enjoyed that. I learned a lot. The market kind of changed when California legalized. One thing that California did that was so different, I feel, was the way they structured and wrote their laws versus Michigan. We wrote our laws from like with the legacy market, with that caregiver and black market. And in California, it felt a little different, and there was this like divide. And I made friends with people in the metric market, but never really found my place in California in that legal market. And then I moved 2020 to Michigan in 20, decided to step my foot into the legal market here, and spent about a year and a half working around Michigan at different cultivators, kind of seeing what was out there. And then I found Lyra, and Living Soil opened my mind to what this flower could be. I'd never grown in living soil like this so intentionally. And it has really changed the way I look at the plant, and I'll never go back willingly.
It's like, it is an agriculture at the end of the day. It's just growing. But when we use this words like just, it almost minimizes it, because there are undoubtedly levels to this shit. There is great. There is fire. This person online has just said they should be embarrassed about California's flower seed. Okay. Like there is great product coming out of all of these markets. I've got a whale of a nug right here.
Hell yeah.
Easily a 3 gram nug. I mean, there's levels to it, right? And so even though this nug, which by all means good, great, whatever it is, right? Whatever word we describe, however it's smoke, right? It would be different. Just it could still be as good or whatever subjectively, but it would just be different grown in living soil. And that could be more, it could be better, it could be higher potency, it could have more terps. But the fact is, it's just a different way of doing it. And some people want this, some people want that. And to give people resources when in this world of accessible cannabis, I like being able to have fruit that's organic. I like being able to have fruit that's whatever. Sometimes I buy this, sometimes I buy that. Sometimes I'm conscious about both. Sometimes I don't even care. I'm just grabbing stuff because I just need it, whatever. But I like to be able to have those options, and I feel like that's important. When you grew in your former styles comparatively to this living soil, we're in a THC world, Jen, and Michigan is no different. That's why we're here with Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs as our partner, because we want accurate potency. We want accurate terps. We want accurate scores. When it comes to your guys' brand, it's not about who you test with. It's not about what the sticker that's on, whatever it is. Oop, we lost her.
I'm sure she'll hop back on.
But I'll chop it up with you for a second. It's not about any of those one things, but it's about just accuracy. What about the patients that do need that? What about the patients that are relying on a consistent experience? And then we've got numbers jumping all over the place. So what I was going to ask her was going to be about how has she navigated that these last few years in a market that's such driven by high THC, similarly to California. So we'll see if she can get back. Do you want to give her a text for right now? And I'll hang out with these folks for just a moment and take the time to pull up their Instagram. All right, guys, stick around for a brief moment. We are obviously having some technical difficulties. She did communicate that her laptop was dying, so I'm sure that has something to do with it, as that's what it seems to have happened. So in the brief moment, I'm going to pull up their Instagram. So far, it's been a great conversation here. We've had Jen as our special guest. She's the director of cultivation over at Lyra. You guys are looking at Lyra Cannabis, a luxury cannabis company out there in Michigan. They're in the small town of Lowell, Michigan, but this says Grand Rapids just because it's right there next to each other.
Guilty by association.
Guilty by association. But as you guys can see, I mean, it's no joke. They got a variety of products, right? Pre-rolls, as she said, made to order. They do a couple different indoor strains. They're all, they're pretty much all going to be follow Easton Craft there to show them some love, since that's where those vapes are going to be. And then even here looking at this, right, they've got a couple of retail partners here right now. It's not a huge brand, you guys. We're showing you guys a small craft company, a Living Soil group. It's important for you guys to support these kinds of companies. We always talk, Kyle, about how people can put their money where their mouth is, and this is an example where if you live anywhere near Grand Rapids, you should be putting your money into those smaller dispensaries stocking a company like Lyra, and I think that's a super cool. That orange cookie chem looked delicious.
That's
that
my favorite
velvet
one.
OG was right up my alley in that OG standpoint. I saw that root beer. There's some good stuff. There's some good stuff, and then the last but not least, that gelato mints. You talk about a smooth, creamy one, but that mints is really going to take the edge off. I think that's something to really be spoken highly of there. Did she get back to you by chance?
Yeah, she said she lost connection. I do believe she's trying to reconnect now at the moment.
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean,
Well,
speaking
for now,
to the
folks,
tenacity, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of the brand. But also they were, I think, yeah, officially like the first site visit that I ever got to do. And like I said, they were close. It was real easy to do, but Kyle, who else is on their team, invited me out so I could check it out. And I was like, they set the bar pretty high for what my expectations were in their facility. It was very clean. It was very tight. And, I got to see firsthand that hand watering experience. And I kind of went back home and I was like looking at mine that I had in my garden outside. And I was just like, yeah, I need to level up a little bit here. I was taking a lot of notes, a lot of mental notes inside of there of things that I could do better. And I have, taken a lot from them and learned them. They have a lot of passion for some of those teas and the way that they feed them. I mean, she touched on how thick that solution is, that it wasn't even really going to work with that drip style. Yeah. And as someone that, went down and is still in that rabbit hole of Jadam and Living Soil and all the microbiomes that are in there, and like just the level of detail that you can get, keeping those nutrients in, and then to find a company like that so close to me. I mean, they were close to my heart from the beginning. So it was really, really awesome to have them on and have her kind of speak about those products that we get to enjoy here in Michigan.
Looking through their Instagram, Kyle, it says, what are the benefits of organic growing and living soil? Cannabis harvested from healthy plants grown with their own immune system means higher quality flower. No synthetic fertilizers or chemicals used in organic living soil products. Sustainable growing practices and regenerative soil lessen the carbon footprint of growing. It's radiation-free, cleaner cannabis that brings you closer to nature. And then we've got the nutrient diversity found in living soil fuse complex terpenes and flavonoids. And then broad spectrum cannabinoid profiles give more enjoyable whole effects. So, there's definitely benefits there to growing in an organic style. And back on the show to talk to us and explain more is the one and only Jen from back after just minor technical difficulties. But luckily, you guys had a bunch of good information on your Instagram, so we were able to rely on that for a brief moment. Welcome back, Jen.
Awesome.
Welcome back.
So sorry.
Nah, dude, we're chilling. That's not the first. But I'll tell you what, though, after having those kind of technical difficulties that we just experienced, you are living proof that you can, in fact, have those issues and make it back in less than 5 minutes. And that was impressive. Most people would have. I
only had to restart my entire computer.
Dude, and shout out your computer for not forcing you into like a 3-hour restart, because that would have been bad timing, right? Rough one. Well, thank you again for joining us, or rather rejoining us, Jen. It's been a pleasure to chat. I've got a couple more questions. To be honest, at least on my end, I've been freestyling all these questions because one, I've done so many of these combos that I just like to ask what I know I gotta ask and what I need to, and get the story out there. But now we're gonna dive into some of the good ones. And so, going back to Cali and then your transition to Michigan. Number one, why Michigan? And what's your favorite part about growing and being in the Michigan market since you've been there for these last few years?
Why Michigan? It was kind of honestly a roll of a dice. We owned a land surveying company back in California, and we sold the company, and it was time for something new. And Michigan was up to, I believe they just legalized. It wasn't even legal yet. There was no legal cannabis, but the law had been passed. People voted. It was happening. And I thought, that's a great jumping point too. So it all just made sense. And it's like the water world of the future. I mean, I could totally see in like an apocalyptic scenario, Michigan is going to be where the water wars happen, So for growing, it felt it felt great.
No, that's and then similarly, question, I go from why Michigan to, what's really been your favorite thing about being out there, right? What's your favorite thing about being in that market? Is it the cannabis? Is it the people? Is it the passion? Obviously, a lot of people think the market's extremely special. There's a lot of passion. There's been a lot of struggle all over the place. So in your eyes, what's your favorite thing about Michigan? What really stands out about it in your world?
Let's see. I think Michigan has some amazing genetics, first of all, and I love how passionate so many people on all corners of this cannabis world are in Michigan about maintaining good genetics. Not, I see the pushback within this industry and in the gray market for, THC driven genetic hunting. And I am a really big proponent of pushing back against that, because if we continue to let THC determine what genetics we cultivate and put out there, not only are we limiting the medicine available, because not every high THC genetic is going to offer the medicinal qualities that people are looking for, even if they don't have a med license. They
70+% of people report that they use weed for sleep, right? So not all strains are meant to get people super duper high.
Right. And so I love that Michigan pushes back against that, and that, I've heard so many people push back against that and really try to preserve these amazing land-race genetics. I think that the industry is so really wonderfully connected in Michigan too. And maybe it's because California is so big, and so, that the different areas are so separated that they don't really interact as much. But in Michigan, it just feels like everybody's connected. Everybody's at the same, big events, and even, some of the Traverse City companies come down to Detroit, and I really love that too about it.
The size of California is pretty drastic. San Diego, 2.5, 3 hours to just get to LA. That's Long Beach is not LA. Long Beach is its own thing. They want to be their own thing. Orange County and Anaheim is their own thing. The Inland Empire is proud to be their own thing. The desert and the central parts of the state are all very proud. I feel like that, we as Respect My Region, right? Local is everywhere. People are now more prideful of local than ever before. And with cannabis having to come from the state you operate in, wherever that physical license is from, the cannabis has to come from there. It makes it even more to be like, all right, well, we got to support people that are from here, for here, buy the culture from, that kind of stuff. What if, with that tag of luxury cannabis, what do you feel beyond the flower helps represent that luxury cannabis experience? Is it the packaging? Is it the smoke? Is it the events you're a part of? Talk to me a little bit about the culture of that ecosystem of Lyra and how you guys define luxury in your guys' experience.
I think that for us, it's about quality. Quality is luxury. And we try to bring that to our packaging, of course. We try most of all to bring that to our brand experience, whether it be our vendor days, just trying to be as interactive as possible. We recently had a vendor day at Lighten Up in Flint and Flushing, and we did like custom screen printed collab shirts between us and that dispensary that people could get whatever different designs they wanted on it right there in the store. And so things like that, just trying to really
No.
company
Loser?
to we want to be as sustainable as possible. So a part of that luxury is trying to incorporate local artists into our merchandising and swag, be sustainable in that way.
I love to hear that. There's a lot of different ways to collaborate, be creative, support the community, and to involve artists within that, and to intentionally include those sustainable elements into your packaging and supply chain. I think that's one way to really powerfully give back in a major way. We're getting to the end of the episode here, Jen. I'd love to give Kyle the opportunity to get any other questions he has your way. I have a million lined up, but I want to make sure I share the floor with Kyle because he's the one that's physically been there, so I know he's got some other stuff for you.
I appreciate it. You touched on the 4 different corners, and then you're probably just talking about the Lower Peninsula too. Have you ventured up and had, like our friends at Wheelhouse that are just up over in the UP? Have you noticed different areas have a different vibe in the markets that they have? Because I mean, obviously, it's super dense on the other side, on the east side, in that Detroit metro region. But then as you get into these pockets like West Michigan and then up in Kalkaska, it is a different vibe. And can you touch on a little bit like the difference in that? And also, I've got one follow-up one at the end after I kind of learn a bit more about those different areas.
Yeah, definitely. We have done several sales trips up to the Upper Peninsula. One thing that we hear a lot is that our the customer base up north is really interested in quality and really wants that organic, even if it doesn't meet the lowest price point in the store. There are some markets that are harder for us as a brand because it costs more to grow the way we grow, and so we can't always meet that bottom price bracket. And there are some places that we can't be in just because of that.
And I bring up the Upper Peninsula because I had some boys that came down from Lake Superior State, and I'm curious to know, do you have any insight into working with some of these colleges and these universities coming up in the future? Because I know that they're expanding programs all across the state and educating our future growers and cultivators, and our future leaders could be listening in now. And the last thing I'll leave with is, if you were able to leverage, those networks and those schools and those universities, and say you're 21 starting out fresh, full of all that energy, what would be your first steps in it, given everything that you've learned throughout the years?
Geez. Well, I feel like it's amazing that there are educational opportunities out there like that. When I was 21, I moved up to Oakland from Orange County, and I'd never been in Oakland before, anywhere in Northern California. And there was Oaksterdam. And that was like the big, like, oh, you can go to this Oaksterdam like university, and that was it. But from what I heard from people who had gone there, it wasn't enough to really, be able to grow a plant, not only to get people the experience that they're looking for, but also to meet these, amazing medicinal qualities. And I think that having the educational resources out there is amazing. And I hope that the focus on that quality maintains, and focusing on genetic preservation, I think, is really important. The future needs some of these really good genetics that might be fizzling out right now. And so learning how to preserve those genetics and grow at the highest quality possible is so important.
Got to preserve the landrace genetics that are not necessarily commercially viable for a lot of people's rent and taxes and business models. It's going to be tricky here in the future when those things start
Definitely
to get squeezed out. Jen, it's been a wonderful to chat with you and to learn about Lyra and to just go, truly get a better understanding of, the luxury nature of, living soil, to the ability, or not ability, but the new capabilities for the popularity of living soil, for what you guys are pushing across the state. We looked at your Instagram. We saw that you guys, some of the partners that you guys have in, who's one of those partners that has been supporting you from day one? If someone were going to go buy your weed right now, what would that product be that you recommend as your ultimate favorite? And what store should they go to?
Are you cut out?
Oh, what?
Could you repeat that?
What?
You
what?
cut out. I'm
what's
so
your,
sorry. Could you?
What's your ultimate favorite product, and what store do you recommend they go get it from?
Okay, so I would say Easton Craft has been our partners in crime for so long in the best ways. Flourish as well in Grand Rapids.
Lots of Flourish.
Primitive in Niles.
There you go.
They've all been such amazing partners.
Big shout out to the partners. Big shout out to you guys. Jen, thank you again for being a guest on the episode. Everybody watching, this was another episode of the Michigan Cannabis Podcast, brought to you guys by Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, InfiniteCAL for short. They are a go-to trusted source for all things testing, potency, THC, terpenes. If I didn't say pesticides, and then heavy metals as well. Just a really good source for you guys to reach out to. Any cannabis brands there, we rock with them. We trust them. Jen, we recommend, if you're not already with them, to give them a shot with some R&D and let them do your
only lab we use.
Let's go.
Hey,
let's go. Right. I noticed that you were cheering for them on. Just real quick, just a shout out to Josh Sweeter and his team. Why are they the only lab to use? Why do you trust them with your products? Why do you trust them with your brand? It's a very important part of the supply chain.
It really is. They are so incredibly consistent that over the last 6 to 9 months, I've been working in my system so much, trying to make our flower the best it possibly can be. And their testing is so trustworthy that I have been able to tweak my system slowly. And now our yields are up, our terpenes are up. And I'm just so thankful that I could trust them through that process. And I wouldn't go with any other lab. Their biosecurity is top notch.
What is biosecurity top notch? That's a huge statement. I'm sure they'll appreciate when I share that to them. what was your experience like working with other labs? What was some of the things that made you want to switch initially or switch to them and have this be the only one you work with?
We had some really hard experiences. But I come back to biosecurity because for me, that is so important. I hold a really tight ship and I can't afford to have anybody come beyond my doors and not take that seriously. And we did experience some really hard lessons along the way. We also, we had inconsistency with test results, just not feeling like there was anything that you could rely on. It just felt so inconsistent.
That's wild. But nothing that we haven't heard before regarding labs. And so big shout out to you guys in your decision to rock with our sponsor on today's show. This episode, although paid for and sponsored by InfiniteCAL, you guys were not paid to say that statement. So I think that's super important to acknowledge is no part of that happened there. That was honest, that was authentic, and we appreciate you sharing that feedback, both about the bad ones and also too about our homies over there at Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, man. InfiniteCAL in the building. Thank you guys again for the episode, Jen. Thank you for your time. Kyle, appreciate you for being my co-hosting partner in crime a couple times a week, my friend. Again, for those of you guys watching, make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe, talk shit about me, but make sure you support our guests, Lyra and Luxury Cannabis. You can follow them on Instagram at Lyra, Lyra _cannabis, spelled regularly. You can also visit their website, lyra-cannabis.com. Please consider checking out their Velvet OG and letting me know what your thoughts are so that way I can go buy it when I get there. And for those of you guys watching as well, I'm particularly interested in that orange cookie chem. So if you guys could go try that for me and let me know what you think, I'm particularly interested in those two strains. So share your feedback with me. Jen, thank you for your time. Kyle, thank you again. And for now, we'll see y'all on the next episode. We'll catch you next time. Michigan Cannabis Podcast.